Yo, sober army, how are you? This is Craig Beck, the stop drinking expert and the author of Alcohol Lied to Me, a best-selling book that has helped hundreds of thousands of people to quit drinking quickly, easily, and without any gimmicks. And no, I'm not peddling it. I'm not pushing it. It's yours for free if you want it. If you're worried about your drinking, get on over to the website, stopdrinkingexpert.com, and sign up for today's free quit drinking webinar. You know the score. Right. In today's episode of the Happy Sober podcast, I'm going to dig into an email from Bobby. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just give you a brief summary because the most important bit that he wants to talk about is this last paragraph. My throat's killing me today. Okay. So Bobby is basically had a career working in bars and pubs and clubs, and is a DJ, 22 years working as a DJ. But because he's been surrounded by alcohol, he's been on that full journey. You know, alcohol's been a big part of his life. He's got to the point where he's abused it. He's got to the point where he started to fall out of love with it and try to moderate, and then hated it, and then gone sober and actually had to be a sober person among the drunk people, which is never that much fun. Imagine being a DJ at 2 a.m. Everyone in the room is drunk. You're the only sober person. And he said he's been quite roundly abused, you know, insulted. He can't do right from doing wrong because everyone has an opinion. Everyone's opinion is subjective. So if he plays a song someone doesn't like in the room because they're drunk, they tend to come up to him and tell him what a crap DJ he is. Oh, you play terrible music. And he's fed up with it. He's fed up with alcohol and what it does to people and having to live in that environment. So he's decided he's going to change his job. He's not going to do that anymore. All right, which is great. But here's the big question. Craig, I love your videos, but can you tell more how your life changes after quitting in your next video? I think you should tell people more, especially to people who watch you and are still trying to moderate, as I did. What I experienced, the happiness dopamine levels went back to normal. So I'm 80% of the time happy. I also started to remember many of my memories from childhood. I almost forgot. Can you also tell me what should I do if I sometimes miss that buzz, that euphoric feeling? Is there some trick to fight it or shut down the evil clown? As a party dancer animal in the past, I'm afraid I will miss this feeling often. Thank you for saving lives, from Bobby. Great questions. So let's talk about it, shall we? Let's talk about how life changes. And as with everything with alcohol, it's all inside outside thinking, because when you're a problem drinker, when alcohol is a part of your life, you honestly believe that alcohol is one of the best things in your life. Without alcohol, you think, oh, life would be terrible. And normally you think that because your life is terrible because of what alcohol's done to it. You know, your relationships are pretty crappy. Your finances are pretty poor because alcohol's stealing a lot of your money. Your career's going nowhere because you haven't got the brain power to beat the competition. Your health's going downhill. If you've been using alcohol for more than a decade, your life has already started to become, at best, mediocre. All right? So here you are sitting in this mediocre life thinking, well, is this it? Is this life? This sucks. This is awful. Is this what I've got to look forward to for the rest of my life? At least I've got my alcohol to numb it. At least I don't have to sit with this misery. At least my friend Jack here is going to help me out. And then some douchebag like me comes along and says, oh, you should lose the alcohol as well. And they go, what? That's the only good thing I've got in my life. My marriage is falling apart. I'm broke. My career's gone down the tubes. My health's failing. You want to take the only thing that's any good in my life away from me? And I go, yeah. Because it's not good for you. It's not a good thing in your life. It just looks like that. It's an illusion. It's a trick being played, like Penn and Teller do illusions. It's not real. And so I get it. When you're drinking, you think everything about my life sucks. Thank God I've got one thing I can rely on, the evil clown. So the truth is, unless you address the underlying stinking thinking, unless you address your incorrect programming around this drug, And we know you've got incorrect programming around this drug because you probably don't inject heroin. And why not? Makes you feel much better than alcohol. Well, because your programming is perfectly aligned. You understand, you believe that adding heroin into your life would be a terrible decision, and you'd be right. The problem is you are incorrect in your programming, in your thinking about alcohol. So if you don't fix that incorrect programming and I take alcohol away from you, yes, you're going to be miserable because now you've got one more problem. Your marriage is broken, your health's going downhill, your career's going nowhere, you're skint, and now that British guy took your alcohol off you. Life is awful. And if I gave it back to you, life would feel better because your programming's still broken. But once you understand that what alcohol's really doing here, that alcohol isn't helping, alcohol is actually causing that big list of other problems. Once you understand that and you buy into it and you stay off it long enough to see those problems improve a little bit, it gets easier. You don't walk around all day saying, oh, God, I can't wait to have a drink. When can I have a drink? Oh, well, I'm not going to be home for 2 hours. I can white knuckle it for 2 hours. In 2 hours' time, I'm going to have a drink. That's not happiness. That's not a good life because you've got alcohol in it. It's a miserable situation when you're a drinker because you walk around all day like that. You're going to work, you have a terrible meeting and you think, oh, I just want to get home and have a drink. And you drive home, oh, looking forward to that drink, looking forward to that drink. You get home and your husband, your wife says, oh, we're going out tonight. What? Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, we're going out tonight. It's parents' evening. We can't drink. We're just going to have to. And you're in the worst mood all night. You're just furious now. I've had a terrible day and now I can't even have a drink. You're furious with everyone. You shout at the kids, you shout at the wife, you shout at the husband. It's just a disaster. And this is how problem drinkers live their lives. They're only happy when they're drinking, which, let's be honest, occupies a couple of hours a day. So let's say you're drinking for 2 hours a day. That means for 22 hours a day, you're miserable. And you got to flip that. If you want to have a life worth living, if you want to get to be like 80, 90, 100 years old and go, wow, what a life, you got to flip that pretty quick. You can't be living in a world where you spend 22 hours a day miserable and 2 hours happy. That's never going to work out. You got to flip it. And when you do, like Bobby says, reality comes back. As he says here, your dopamine response is back to normal. You're no longer dependent on a drug to dictate when you're happy and when you're sad. You can feel happy and sad because of your life. You're aware of it. You're conscious. You can feel euphoric because your kids did really well at school. You can feel over the moon at something somebody complimented you on. You're not constantly dragged down by, yeah, great. Well done at school. I just need to go and have a drink. You're present. You're in the moment. So that's one of the things that is priceless and so easy. It's so difficult to describe because it's not something you can measure with a test. You just feel it. Bobby, the thing I can say, when people say, what's life like without alcohol? I honestly say everything is better. Everything is not just a little bit better. Everything is quantities of scale better. It's like going from owning a Kia Picanto to owning a Ferrari. It's just, there's nothing in between. It's just incredible. And I know this from my own life, I drank myself nearly to destruction. I nearly destroyed everything in my life. And look, for me to tell you where I am now compared to where I was when I was drinking, I have to sound a bit big-headed, and I have to sound a bit like I'm boasting, and I really don't want to do that. And I hope you understand I'm not trying to be a show-off here. I'm just trying to illustrate a point. At the peak of my drinking, I was financially broke. I was this close to going bankrupt. They say you should have 3 months of savings, 3 months of your salary in savings in case you lose your job as a minimum. I didn't have a week of money, and I was on a really good wage. I was the director of 2 big commercial radio stations in the United Kingdom. I was the patron of a children's charity. I wasn't, doing a minimum wage job. I wasn't stacking shelves in a supermarket. I was a director level job earning really good money, and I was flat broke. I had nothing. I had less than nothing. I'd remortgaged the house twice. I had something like 30, 40,000 pounds in credit card debt. I had 25, 30,000 pounds in unsecured personal loans. I was an absolute mess. And then I got fired. And I had to take something like a 27% pay cut. So I was barely able to keep my head above water when I was earning the big bucks. And then I got a 27% pay cut, bang, like that overnight. Now I'm really in trouble. This is where I switched from drinking wine to whiskey. And I'm buying a bottle of whiskey a day now. And so my health starts failing. I feel terrible. I feel absolutely awful. I can't lay on my right-hand side because it feels like there's a lump there. I don't know what it is, but it's really uncomfortable. So I'm now seeing consultants at the hospital. My liver enzymes are all over the place. I'm thinking, great, I've given myself cirrhosis. I'm going to die. My marriage started to fall down. I had to move 300 miles away from my family just to get a job. So I was living in a bedsit with black mold on the wall. You could pick mushrooms off the ceiling. I was there Monday to Friday, went home to my kids and my wife at the weekend in one hell of a mood. So my career was going downhill. My health was falling apart. I was about to go bankrupt. I've hated myself. And honestly, I would wake up every morning in my shithole apartment and I'd blink my eyes open and I'd look down, I'd see the bottle of whiskey on the floor. And I'd look at my body and I'd see that I slept in my clothes again last night. And I'd think, shit, I'm still alive. I hated it. I hated myself. I hated everything. I hated being alive. It was just awful. And something snapped. Something just, I just thought, okay, look, I've lost everything. There's nothing more to lose now. The next thing that I can lose is my life. If I take one more step, I die. So I might as well just blow my life up. I might as well do something dramatically different. And I thought, where do I start? I've got all these problems. I'm massively overweight. My health's terrible. My finances are in a mess. My careers are, my marriage, my kids, everything was broken. I thought, where do I start? And the only logical conclusion I came to was you got to stop drinking the poison, because you can't do anything while you're drinking the anesthetic. You come home from work, you see all the bills. What do? You drink the anesthetic, the bills go away. But they don't go away. They come back tomorrow. So I stopped drinking, Bobby. And slowly, I worked on everything in my life that was broken. Started losing weight, started going to the gym, started getting my health sorted out, started saving money, working harder, started progressing in my career, started going up the ladder instead of stagnated. Made a decision about my marriage and we split and went our separate ways. It wasn't like overnight everything got better, Bobby. In fact, I'll tell you, it took me 7 years to fix my life. It took me 7 years to fix all of the things that alcohol broke in my life. And I went from being bankrupt to a multimillionaire in 7 years. Now, does that mean stopping drinking gave me money? No, it's just that for the first time in my adult life, I was operating with 100% of my brain capacity. while I was drinking, all the success I'd achieved was with 70% of my brain capacity. When I got 100%, I started kicking down doors, taking risks, and doing what I thought I could do. My health got better. All my bloods that were crazy off the scale went back to normal. My blood pressure went back to normal for the first time in 10 years. And that happened within a month, actually. I started dating again, met the woman of my dreams, and married my soulmate. And I will be with my wife, Daniela, now for the rest of my life. I know that for certain. We're very happy. And we live in with a big plot of land, and we rescue animals. We have 8 rescue cats, 3 rescue dogs. We look after them in the sunshine here off the coast of Greece. And everything is good. Everything is good. The best thing that alcohol, well, I should say sobriety, will bring you is peace. If you give it time. But you got to give it time. You've got to stick at this. You've got to fall in love with sobriety and then stay in that place. Reframe your life and stay in your new frame is what I'm saying to you. And if you do it long enough, you too will get to the point where you go, wow, that's amazing. I can't believe what I was actually capable of. And I'll tell you this, and I know it for sure. If you currently have alcohol in your life, whatever you've got, and I don't care how rich you are, I don't care how many houses you own, I don't care how many Ferraris you've got on your drive, you've got 70% of what you're due. You are willingly giving up 30% of what you should be getting out of this life. All right? That I know for certain, and I have zero doubt about it. So use that as inspiration. If you want a 30% pay rise, if you want 30% better sex, 30% better relationships, and 30% better health, then stop drinking the poison, my friend. All right? That's my advice to you today. Before we go, let me just remind you that I have a new book out, and I think it's pretty good. And it is all about, can you see that? No, you can't. You can now. It is all about how glucose affects your body and how insulin affects your body. And if you're like me, if you're nudging 50, well, I am 50, but if you're around this age and you live with the belief that it's much harder to lose weight than it is to gain weight, firstly, I'm going to tell you, I know how you feel. I used to think that. Secondly, you're wrong. You are dead wrong. I was dead wrong. It is actually easier to lose weight than it is to put it on if you understand what's going on in the body. It has got nothing to do with calories. It's got nothing to do with starving yourself. It's got nothing to do with spending hours on a treadmill. It's got nothing to do with diet food or anything like that. It is all about a growth hormone produced by your pancreas called insulin. Insulin is the key to weight loss and weight gain. You master your insulin and you get slim. It's as simple as that. If you're interested, go to Amazon, type in Sugar-Coated Lies, or go to Audible, because it's now available as an audiobook. Sugar-Coated Lies. Download it and give me a review, will you please? Because I'm looking a little bit lonely here as it's new and it's only got 1 rating on there at the moment. So thank you very much for being with me, and I will see you in the next episode of the Happy Sober podcast.